The Chicago Cubs were the World Series champions in 2016. The Cubs, after 2016, slowly regressed until 2021, where they sold nearly the entire team. This has caused many fans to hate them. The hatred from their own fans is likely deserved, given that they traded away practically every staple in their organization, doing all of this when they're the fourth highest net worth of all teams. It all really begs the question, should they trade away their final two staples in Kyle Hendricks and Wilson Contreras? This is Baseball Breakdown. The Chicago Cubs were the World Series champions in 2016, breaking the longest streak in MLB history. Their 103-58 record was assumed to be followed by many more great seasons. 2017, their only real big move that offseason was picked up starting pitcher Jose Quintana. Other than that, it was very quiet. They'd have one of the most dominant bullpens in the game, with Pedro Strop, Brian Dwasing, Carl Edwards Jr., and Wade Davis as the closer. Their lineup was stacked with Kyle Schwarber, Ben Zobrist, Anthony Rizzo, Jason Hayward, Wilson Contreras, Javier Baez. The list goes on. They were one of the strongest teams in baseball. And their rotation was very, very good too, as they had John Lester, John Lackey, Jake Arrieta, Kyle Hendricks, and Jose Quintana. They would still win the division, but the 2017 team was a little bit disappointing still. They lose in the NLCS to the Dodgers in just 5 games. While Lackey and Arrieta would go out of the organization in 2018, they would bring in Tyler Chatwood, Yu Darvish, and Cole Hamels. Their lineup looked almost the same, and while they would wind up losing Wade Davis, they'd have a new closer in Brandon Morrow, who would have an outstanding season, picking up 22 saves with a 1.47 ERA. Strop, Edwards Jr., and Cishek would all lead to another really good bullpen. The Chicago Cubs this season, however, would fall a little short of expectations, again taking second in the division despite a really good 95-68 record. And they'd be the unfortunate team to be the only team in recent history to lose in the playoffs to the Colorado Rockies. They got unfortunate to play them in practically their only good season in recent history. However, the 2019 team was extremely disappointing. The only real thing they did was swap closers with Morrow out and Craig Kimbrell in as the closer. Unfortunately, while Kyle Hendricks was very good and Yu Darvish and Cole Hamels were solid, John Lester and Jose Quintana were not very strong this season. As for the lineup, Wilson Contreras, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber all were playing very well. However, this is where you kind of start to see the decline start for Javier Baez. Despite being only 26, he wasn't playing as well as he had in the past. They'd also be disappointed by guys like Hayward and Almora. Hayward, who was on a monster contract at this time. However, maybe the biggest disappointment was in Craig Kimbrell. He just signed a 3-year, $43 million contract just to put up a 6.53 ERA while only being able to convert 13 saves. They'd wind up really turning to Steve Cishek as their closer the rest of that season. The team would finish 84-78, which while wasn't bad, they would miss the playoffs, which was not expected for this season. The 2020 team was in a bizarre season where they would go 34-26. The team's rotation was very promising. Kyle Hendricks and Yu Darvish had elite seasons this year, while Adbert Alzolay was also very, very good. Yu Darvish would take second in Cy Young this year. John Lester and Alec Mills were not great, while Jose Quintana got the boot from the rotation. They would make another change in a closer as Cishek was gone and Jeremy Jeffers would be their new closer. Recently acquired Ryan Tepera would also make a substantial difference in their bullpen. However, despite solid pitching, their lineup was full of disappointments. Contreras and Rizzo posted just over league average stats. David Bodie, Kyle Schwarber below league average. Ian Happ and Jason Hayward, while were promising, Chris Bryant was hurt for the majority of the season, and while he was healthy, he was not on. Javier Baez, meanwhile, was having by far the worst season of his career. 2021 season, they switched presidents to Jed Hoyer, the former general manager, and the management would change everything. Obviously controversial with fans, they'd sell virtually every single staple in the team. However, when you think of the Cubs as the fourth highest net worth, it does seem a little cheap to not try and get some better players and maybe salvage something. If they had really tried, I feel like they could have at least tried and gotten Anthony Rizzo or Javier Baez. Maybe not saving all of their staples, but they could have kept something going. Despite trading away Anthony Rizzo to the Yankees, to Javier Baez to the Mets, Chris Bryant to the Giants, Craig Kimbrell and Ryan Tepera to the White Sox, Andrew Chafin to the A's, and Trevor Williams to the Mets. Despite all this, they would get only one top 100 prospect in Pete Crow Armstrong. They'd acquire Nick Madrigal and Frank Schwindel. However, both have had very disappointing seasons. The only substantial trade piece in the majors right now appears to be Cody Hewer. The team would really give up all hope and go 71-91. The new president, people were not a fan of, given that he seemed to have destroyed their team. Well, this is likely an overstatement, as they were heading for a bottom spiral. They could have done more, given their net worth. The 2021 offseason will be surprisingly busy, picking up Yan Gomes, Marcus Stroman, Jonathan Villar, and Seiya Suzuki. Despite all this, none of these guys have been good by any means. Suzuki, while holds a solid 807 OPS, he, I guess, has been pretty good. He's a Rookie of the Year candidate. However, outside of that, it's all downhill. Yan Gomes has not even been a good backup catcher with a 542 OPS. He risks being cut like fellow signee Jonathan Villar, who is now gone. Marcus Stroman has fought injuries and really been mediocre at best. Kyle Hendricks is also now posting his worst years, and the only upside for this team is looking like Keegan Thompson, who's having an underrated good season. David Robertson's also been very good, but he will likely get dealt at the deadline with Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras, and maybe even Stroman or Hendricks. This team is not just bad, but awful. They're 35-57 and have a real shot at 100 losses this season. Given a weak division and how much money they had, I think if their new management could have picked up some bats at the deadline, or maybe even this offseason, they could be competitive again. However, they didn't, and I don't think selling was necessarily the right move. But if you're a Cubs fan, let me know. That's all for this breakdown. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe for similar videos.